Ladies and gentlemen, it is official. The Chicago Bulls have extended an offer sheet to Lonzo Ball to join the franchise, and so all of the rumors and reports that have been circling around this potential agreement ended up being correct, really after months dating all the way back to last season of Lonzo Ball being linked to the Bulls. Well, now he officially has an offer sheet right in front of him. That being said, though, because Lonzo Ball is a restricted free agent, the New Orleans Pelicans now have 48 hours to match said offer in order to retain him. And if they choose to pass on matching, then Lonzo will become a Chicago Bull. The 23-year-old point guard out of UCLA coming over from the New Orleans Pelicans may be the newest addition to the Chicago Bulls. This is a pretty big deal for the Bulls. I mean, you guys know where I stand on the idea of bringing in Lonzo Ball, at least at the rate in which he's getting paid. I've really talked about it all season, but it's a big deal for the Bulls as a franchise because they were finally able to bring in a fairly big name free agent. I'm not saying this is a superstar level talent player, but because it's Lonzo Ball and the Ball family brings with it a lot of publicity and exposure, it's a big move for the Bulls. And despite my hesitancy around Lonzo, as I've said before, the fact of the matter is his skill set is very much needed on this roster, and he will fit well with this team in what they're trying to do. Would I have preferred it to be Ben Simmons? Yes, you guys know where I stand on that, but I also know that option wasn't as realistic given his contract and the fact that we would have had to been able to give up too much for him. And at the end of the day, even though Ben Simmons is still an all-star, an elite player, an elite defender and playmaker, taking on his contract with his shooting flaws is a big risk. But for Lonzo Ball, his skill set, although not as strong as Ben Simmons, is very much needed for this Bulls team. I mean, one of the biggest areas where the Bulls struggled with last season was around their playmaking and perimeter defense, and Lonzo Ball brings both of those skills and can hopefully maximize the opportunities and potential for guys like Lavine and Nikola Vucevic, because at the end of the day, we know Lavine and Vuce are elite level scorers in this league with their ability to score inside but also spread the floor. And what they truly missed last season was a floor general, a playmaking point guard who specializes in getting his teammates the best touches and looks on offense to maximize scoring on high percentage shots. So don't get me wrong, I'm not a Lonzo hater. I know I've been called that in the past in the comments. I think skeptical is a better word, especially when it comes to the amount that he's getting paid and the fact that the Bulls are committing the majority of their salary cap dollars to Lavine, Vucevic, and Lonzo. Lavine and Vuce, that makes sense because they're all-star caliber players. But Lonzo, does he move the needle enough for the Bulls to make them a title contending team? You know, I have a hard time saying that he does, as I expressed in my last video, so I won't belabor that point. Now, by the Bulls extending this offer to Lonzo Ball does not mean he is going to become a Chicago Bull, because the Pelicans do have the ability to match the offer sheet. And with all the rumors going around about Kyle Lauri, who was initially anticipated to be a target for the Pelicans in free agency, and now that has slowly turned into the Miami Heat becoming frontrunners to land him, well, that could mean that the Pelicans, in fact, may need to keep Lonzo and essentially match any offer sheet that he receives. So really, we'll have to wait in anticipation on whether the Pelicans will in fact match the Bulls' offer that they've extended to Lonzo Ball. Really, it's a matter of seeing how the dominoes will fall when it comes to Kyle Lauri, because without Lauri, and if the Pelicans aren't able to be confident in securing another starting point guard, they're really going to have to match or make the choice of keeping Lonzo, or at least move him by way of a sign and trade, which is of course possible, and there has been a lot of talk about a potential 3-team sign and trade in the works between the Bulls, the Pelicans, and the Heat involving Kyle Lauri, Lonzo Ball, and Goran Dragic. Well, we'll have to see whether or not any of that ends up becoming credible, but I wanted to make this video with the recent news breaking. I'll have a more in-depth video once some of the remaining free agency news settles, and there is going to be plenty of developments in the coming hours and days, I'm sure. Make sure that you're tuned into the channel, as I'll try to update you guys as best as I can when the news breaks. As always, be sure to subscribe. I do upload daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.